Hello everyone. It's Rose Davidson from doesbiz.com. How are you this evening? I hope you're all coping well with our current circumstances and keeping well. I just wanted to welcome you this evening to Business Basics, and yes, I have changed the name. I thought it was more appropriate than what it was called before. So I thought we would look at part 2 of our business writing skills this week and include a little bit of the correct use of punctuation. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will get back to you if I can't answer them during the broadcast. I am next week going to try something new and actually have some animated slides on here, so wish me luck with that, and we'll see how we go. It'll be a bit of a learning curve, but I'm sure that we will get through it. Anyway, let's get started with the slides for this evening. So business writing skills part 2. Practical tips and techniques to increase the clarity and speed of your writing. Bring up my own slide deck and then I can get through it. Let me see what's going on here. Nothing's working. There we go. Okay, so success as a writer depends on your ability to use language in ways that enables the reader to receive the message that you intended to be portrayed accurately and clearly. Your writing is successful if the audience can comprehend your thoughts on the first reading. However, most adults have a tendency to overcomplicate their writing. Simply writing to express a thought, not to impress the reader, of your command of sophisticated phraseology. Now, that's a big word for me today. So grab a pen and paper for note-taking. And I know that from previous live streams I have advised about using too much text on the slide. However, in this case, I am breaking the rules because there's a lot of information to get through. And a more in-depth booklet will be available on Business Basics Facebook group, and the link is in the comments. Let me see, let me move that down a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Oh, not having much luck tonight. There we go. Okay, so you need to personalise your writing. So in emails and letters, use personal pronouns. And what does that mean? So So you need to use words like you and your, I and we to create a warm personal tone, and in this way you are connecting with your reader. This is a major feature of writing customer-focused letters. Use I when referring to yourself and we when referring to your organisation. Be careful not to open too many sentences with I, as it becomes very boring to read. Combine ideas and move words around to avoid this. To increase the impact of the reader, use you and your, and to emphasise that we have done using obviously we, or the business's name. So here's some examples, and I don't know whether you can see them very clearly, but we will give them a go. So an impersonal message or email would be graduates from the university will find a different writing style required within the business. University requires a style that works the reader through a series of deductive processes to reach a conclusion. In business, people are required to state the point up front and then clearly explain it. This will enable the reader to absorb the information more readily in the first read. And there are no personal references in there. So, was that an impersonal memo or letter or email, I mean, my God, to receive that, it's all gibberish to me, and I would just lose interest in the first 3 sentences or 3 lines. But using pronouns to personalise it and giving personal references, it makes it easier to read. You will find that you are required to write in a different style in business compared to what was expected from you in university, and so forth. So at university, you needed to use a style that worked the reader through a series of deductive processes to reach a conclusion. So in business, you are required. So you're using all the pronouns. You're personalising the information so that it's more entertaining. So these are only and a rough guideline is that there should be 6 personal words for every 100 words used, which is not a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, but you will find that it will make the writing more entertaining and more readily absorbed by the reader. So using tone to influence your reader. When we speak, our tone is indicated by our voice. We can easily recognise whether a speaker is happy to help, uncooperative or sarcastic. However, when we write, we have to rely on our choice of words to indicate our tone. When we want to influence the reader, we should focus on the reader's needs, focus on what the writer can do for the reader, create a personal tone through effective use of pronouns and pleasant words. Now I'm finding, and I've found that through my own best intentions to write an email or a letter or something, the tone that I'm thinking in my head is not necessarily how the person receiving the letter or email has received it, because their perception is totally different than mine. So we need to be very careful that we are using words that we're using pleasant words in our correspondence. And we need to focus on the reader's needs. So to do this, there's some examples. So you're focusing on the writer on the left. We have mailed the cheque. I want to express my appreciation. Our interest rate for 12 months is 7%. When you're focusing on what the reader wants to hear, I guess basically, or using that personal tone, so you will receive your cheque in the mail within the next few days. Thank you for your help. You will earn 7% over a 12-month term deposit. So it's giving them a little bit more information as well, rather than just letting them guess, I guess, through what your intention was in the first place. So what is the difference between a pleasant and a personal tone? Well, a pleasant tone, we looked at how pronouns can produce a more personal tone, as shown in the examples. And the use of pleasant words can also assist. An example of pleasant words includes thank you. My goodness, something's just not right here tonight. Happy to, action, immediately, would you please, look forward to, pleased, I'm pleased to, words like that. So it makes them sound like you're happy to do something for them in the long run. There we go. I might have fixed that problem that I can read now. No. Okay. So looking at different types of examples, so a potentially offensive statement would be, James, please provide a list of the reference types. Or you're using an inclusive, pleasant voice is, James, would you please provide me with a list of the reference types? So I don't know why I put please in there twice, but I have some. I'm pleased to be pleased. So there you go. And learning how to say no graciously. So I cannot attend a strategic planning meeting, or I wish I could attend the strategic planning retreat, but I have my son's graduation on that day. So you're explaining yourself. You're not just saying, well, I can't attend, because the reader may be offended by, you being so blunt, where you're actually laying out and by using pleasant words, you're laying out the reason why you can't attend the planning meeting. Punctuation. And I have noticed lately that I've not been using the punctuation correctly either. I always thought that I had been, but after reading this and compiling this slide deck, I realised that I hadn't been using it totally correctly. I think that's great grammar. There is always some confusion on how to use certain punctuation and where and when to use it. So let's look at the correct way to use punctuation. And this goes back to our learnings in English, if you remember them at school. So in business writing, less punctuation is required because the trend is to use less complex and shorter sentences. However, there are still several conventions we should follow to ensure our writing is as effective as possible. So, capital letters. Use capital letters for names of people, months, and titles. And here are some examples. So obviously for Mr. John Parker and Park Street in January. So, we're pretty au fait with those. We know that that's when we should be using capital letters. So we need to learn to reduce our use of capital letters. So keeping our use of capital letters to a minimum, as research shows that overcapitalisation reduces readability. Do not use capital letters to give emphasis or authority to a word because it's hard to read, so research has told us. So there's too many, if you look on the left, there's too many, the use of too many capital words. So to apply for leave, complete in an application form. Okay, so application form obviously doesn't need to be capitalised. And give it to your manager. Well, manager doesn't need to be capitalised either. And as a supervisor again doesn't need to be capitalised. You are entitled to several additional benefits provided by the company. Again, company doesn't need to be capitalised. And the managing director issued the company's position on equal employment opportunity via a press release dated 24th of October 2008. Do you think that one is right or it's wrong? And I would love to hear your comments in the feed. That would be great. Excuse me for turning my head here for a little minute. I'll get this a bit organised here. I've actually been able to see the comments for the first time ever. Yay for me! Had a really great day today. I hope you have. I've just started a new project with something that I'm using outside of my business. So things like that really light me up a lot. So anyway, we won't talk about that tonight. Anyway, the use of full stops. Oh, time's getting away from me. So full stops. Use full stops at the end of a complete sentence. Complete sentences that are presented in a bullet list and the last bullet point in a bulleted list when all the bullet points combine to make a complete sentence. Wow, that was a mouthful. Do not use full stops after an initial, in addresses, or at the end of headings. And oh my God, I've seen so many blogs where they have used a full stop at the end of a heading, and that really annoys me. So now here's proof to the pudding that it's not meant to be used. The comma. Well, apply the following conventions when using a comma. Use commas when listing several items, when mentioning a title, designation, or description, before and after a non-essential descriptive clause. Wow, okay. That's something for the English buffs. Typically, such clauses begin with who, which, where, or when after words such as therefore, however, and for example. So they are descriptive, non-essential descriptive clauses. And there you go. I've always used the comma after therefore and however, so yeah, that's part of what I do, but maybe you don't, but now you know that that's what you're meant to be doing. The semicolon, that's always a bit of a confusion for everybody. You should be using the semicolon to separate parts of a sentence that require a stronger break than a comma would provide before sentence parts that are introduced by words such as, for example, therefore, however, that is, namely. Do not use semicolons in bulleted lists. And there's another thing, people use them in bulleted lists. And there you go, it's been said that you're not meant to. And if anyone would like to dispute that, that would be great. I'd love to hear from you. Using the colon. So that's our two little dots that you use. The colon represents the strongest degree of breaks with the sentence to business writing. So it is mainly used to punctuate the end of a stem sentence before going into a bulleted list or numbered list. So we've all used stem sentences, and I will just tell you what they are in a moment. So the apostrophe. So you used to, and again, this punctuation is often used incorrectly. So to use apostrophes to show ownership of something or to contract two words. So singular ownership in the following sentence, the hard drive belongs to the PC, therefore use the use the apostrophe as shown. So the good guys policy, the company's approach, so it belongs to the company, it belongs to the story, it belongs to Helen. So that's when it belongs to something, it shows ownership. And singular ownership means that the good guys, so it belongs to the good guys. Mr. Jones's room, so you wouldn't put apostrophe S after Jones's, you'd put an apostrophe after the S in that instance. And then plural ownership of using the apostrophe. So in the following sentences, as you can see, the various companies' strategies, the dog's food, so it's plural, so there's many companies, there's many dogs, there's the boy's exams, so that's belongs to the boy, there's many stories, so there's many of them, so you put the apostrophe at the end of the S. And And then finally on apostrophes, there's contractions, and we all know how to do that. So it is, it's, you are, your. And people get confused with the your, and your. And we are, and they get confused with their, and their. So, but that you get the idea, and you know how to do that anyway. But I just thought I'd put that in there because I could. So apostrophes in abbreviations. So 6 PCs will be installed in the Canberra office. That is the correct use of it because there is no need for an apostrophe. The 6 PCs with the apostrophe is incorrect, but there is an exception to that rule. The exception is when you also need to show ownership, as shown in the following example, where the hard drives belong to the 6 PCs. So 6 PCs hard drives will be rebuilt next week. And as I explained, you'll find all this documentation in the Business Basics Facebook group. So you just need to find the page. The link is in the comments. And yeah, just ask to join and you'll find all the documents from this and previous broadcasts in the Units tab. And so that's it. We're done. We're done for tonight. That was pretty short and sweet, wasn't it? So how is everyone feeling about their punctuation? Do they think that they've got that all mastered or not? Hope so. Anyway, so my documents tonight, my free gift to you tonight is obviously the documentation that's related to this broadcast and any other broadcast, and you'll find them in the Business Basics Facebook group. And next week, I will be discussing the need for a training needs analysis in your business. So I want to... so if you have enjoyed tonight's presentation, I would love for you to share this with your friends and your family. It's as easy as clicking on the share button below. And so if you've gained something out of it, I'm sure that they will. It may be useful for people that their English isn't so great, and the punctuation is a big part of business writing and writing overall. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really do appreciate it. And as I said, next week I'll be discussing training needs analysis. What is it and why you should have one in your business, especially if you employ staff. It could be useful for those who are sole traders, just so that you know that what type of training that you might need in the future. So thank you for everyone for joining me tonight on 5 Foot Rope TV. And while you're here, please take the opportunity to go and view others' broadcasts on here. There's a lot of information on here that people have shared, and I'm sure that they would love for you to go and visit their pages. So that's all from me tonight. I look forward to your company next time. My name's Rose Davidson from doesbiz.com. Thank you for joining me, and I'll still see you next week. Bye for now.